All right, planet Earth, you wanted the best, you got the best.
Hey, this is not a test. This is rock and roll.
Dave Erickson, Mark Anderson.
Locked and loaded.
When it comes to talk, they're the purveyors of power, the bailiffs of bombast, rock and roll renegades.
We're about to witness the greatest miracle of the machine age.
Turn it up to 11. Here they are, Mark and Dave. Let there be rock.
All right, yeah. Thank you to our crew. We don't necessarily have a huge studio audience, but we have a dynamic crew that welcomes us in every single week.
We couldn't do without them.
That's right. I'm Dave Erickson.
Mark Anderson.
And this is Let There Be Rock. Thanks so much for joining us. Man, this is episode 4, Mark. Can you believe we've already got 4 now?
I can't believe it. It seems just like yesterday we started.
It does.
It seems like yesterday.
Hey, I can think of worse things in life than to talk about rock and roll.
Yeah, I can too. This is such it's a relief to like go and talk about rock and think about nothing else.
Yeah, man. And so thanks to everybody who's been listening and commenting on our Facebook page and liking it. Obviously, you like talking about rock and roll and you like listening to people talking about rock and roll. So without you, we couldn't do what we do. So thanks. All right. So today, what are we going to be talking about, Mark?
We are going to go through our top 3 concert experiences in our life. And I think we should start off, though, with our very first concert experience.
Okay. Gosh, you know, you and I, we have seen a combined thousands of gigs.
Oh, that's easily.
It's very difficult to boil them all down, but we all remember the first.
We do.
We all remember our first. Okay. Mark, tell me about your first.
Okay, my first, I was 12 years old, is 1979, and my dad was so gracious to take me and my friend to see Kiss on the Dynasty Tour.
Nice.
It was snowing outside. We lived an hour away from Denver, and I remember him telling me, well, if it's snowing too bad, we may not be able to go. But yet, he had drove home from Denver from work to pick me up and then take us down. But I knew he was not going to like back out on that because he knew how bad from like the last couple of times they were coming through Denver and we didn't get to go. So he knew how bad I wanted to see him. We went down to Denver, saw him on the Dynasty Tour. It was mind blowing to see Gene and Paul, Peter and Ace on the same stage, blowing it up. Literally blowing it up.
You know what's so funny about that is that you said you were a kid. You were 12 years old.
Yes.
I saw that tour. And the complaint that I had, I was a little bit older than you. Not that much, but I was in high school. And I remember coming home and telling my friends that I was irritated because when I got there, it was like, all these parents are bringing their little kids, man. I wanted to go see a rock and roll show, and I felt like I was at the circus.
And I was one of them.
And you were one of them.
That's right.
Oh, come on, Mark. Oh, man. But that Dynasty Tour, that was a good thing that you caught them at that tour because that was the last hurrah of the originals, really.
Peter Criss quit a month later after I saw him. So I felt really, really excited that I got to see that lineup, the original lineup as they were in the heyday.
Yeah. And you know what? They changed up the set a little bit. The stage, they got rid of the, I remember Dynasty, they didn't have it was different than the Love Gun set and the notorious 70s sets that they had, but it was spectacular. I remember the fog was on the stage and they came up from the floor.
Yes, that is exactly how they opened the whole show up, and it was magical.
It was. I almost didn't go to that tour because I remember I got in trouble for something in high school, and my father said, he was going to punish me by taking away some concert tickets. He did that to me the year before when I was going to see Van Halen and Black Sabbath. And Van Halen, it was their first ever tour. They just released their album and they were opening for Sabbath. And my father punished me. He took my concert tickets away. It's something I did stupid. He knew that if he took both my Kiss tickets away, that I would probably murder the entire family. So, not really.
Well, good thing he didn't.
Yeah, no, not really. But he knew that would be upsetting. So what he did was he said I could go see Kiss, but I had to go alone. I had to get rid of the other ticket. So it's so funny. I have a big bag of ticket stubs, that I've saved over all these years. And if you go through, you'll see my torn ticket stub from that night, and then you'll see a whole ticket that I wasn't allowed to use.
Your imaginary friend should have had.
That's right. So yeah. So anyway, so that's it. That was a good concert.
Yeah, I still have my ticket stub as well. Yeah, and my shirt. I still have a shirt. Is hanging up in the rock room.
Anybody who doesn't know Mark Anderson personally may not know that Mark has a concert T-shirt from literally every concert he's ever attended. I think he's got a warehouse full of these things. And so it does not surprise me that you still have the shirt from that concert.
Should try to put it on when we get home.
You go put it on. You probably still can fit into it. So, but let's see. My first concert, a couple of years before yours, there was a guy by the name of Peter Frampton, who was the biggest rock star in the world in 1977. He had released Frampton Comes Alive, which at the time was the biggest selling live album in the history of recorded music. It's still up there. And he went on tour. He was huge. I mean, huge. Frampton was everywhere.
He was everywhere. I to this day, I remember seeing that LP in the record bin everywhere.
Yeah. And so I saw that was my first concert. It was also coincided with my first ever date, which was great. So I took this girl named Carrie Ewing, who I thought I was in love with. My gosh, I was a kid. And so anyway, so we went, my parents drove, they dropped me off. Frampton played 2 nights back-to-back, sold out in the Sam Houston Coliseum in downtown Houston, a building which has long since been demolished. It was a dump then. It's like, that was a great concert. My parents dropped me off. I remember I was wearing a T-shirt, a ZZ Top Fandango T-shirt.
Very appropriate being in Texas and Houston.
In Houston, of all places. And my parents were petrified. They warned me. They dropped me off. They said, "Now be careful. You might get high from smelling the pot fumes." And so I wasn't smoking pot or anything. I was a kid. And Carrie and I went in, but we could smell it, whatever. We had decent seats. We watched the concert. And that night, though, it was interesting because Peter Frampton, I think Bob Mayo, his keyboardist, was sick. I think it was Bob. Bob Mayo. Bob Mayo on the keyboards. Bob Mayo.
Bob Mayo on the keyboards. Bob Mayo.
But he wasn't there. So Frampton, his entire band, they're so talented to make up for the missing part. They would rotate around and play different instruments. On one song, Frampton was singing and playing drums, so the other guy could play keyboards. It was crazy. I'd never seen anything like it. Frampton did that, and then he ended a gig with Jumpin' Jack Flash, Stones cover, and then he did the encore, which I thought was ridiculous. He has the crowd in the palm of his hands. He finishes with "Do You Feel Like We Do," right? 20-minute version of that. Comes out, does Jumpin' Jack Flash, comes out again and plays "I'm in You," some ballad from the album that he followed the live album up with.
He ended on that?
Yeah. And I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, that's...
So that was my first concert, my first date.
I'll go back really quick to what you were talking about when they were missing a person, they had to kind of like fill in. The only person I could see doing that today is David Grohl. Dave Grohl could probably do that.
Dave Grohl could do that. They're phenomenal. Although, we talked about this before we started taping. I saw Kid Rock, and he played every instrument.
And Prince could have done that too.
Oh, man. The whole list, but yes.
Yeah.
Frampton to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
And Peter Frampton, and it makes me sad. I really want to see him on this final tour because he's now got that degenerative muscular disease and he's not going to be able to play guitar, so he's going on his final tour. And I thought, well, you know what? I started with Frampton. I'll go to the last one.
Yeah. I saw him in Austin in the 90s. Amazing.
All right, Mark. So those were our first ones. The first isn't always the best. So top 3, you said, let's do this top 3.
Okay.
Top 3, counting down. So what's number 3?
Okay. Number 3 for me is the Allman Brothers in October 2004. When I was in Austin, I worked at a TV station and I had got a lot of bands in for the morning show. And one of them was Government Mule. And Warren Haynes is the lead guitarist for Government Mule and also the Allman Brothers. I befriended him. Anytime the Government Mule came into town, when I was in Austin, Nashville, or Dallas, I'd always go see him, always had tickets. He was coming through, and with the Allman Brothers, set me up with VIP seats. And I had no idea what that was.
Wow.
Yeah. So I get there, me and my friend Alan, and we're both big Allman Brother fans. Get the tickets, and I said, where can I go? And they said, anywhere you want. So I saw Warren, and I go, what does this mean? He goes, you can go anywhere you want. Here's a green room. Go grab something to eat. During the show, you have hard tickets. You can go sit in your seats, or you could be on stage. I go,
For the Allman Brothers.
for the Allman Brothers. So we go back to the green room. Greg was in front of me getting a yogurt.
Greg Allman, did you walk up to him and go, hey, I'm a big fan?
Yeah, I just said, hey, Greg, how's it going? And that was about all I could muster.
And he grunted?
He did. He's like, hi.
He wasn't with Cher then?
No, he was not. Butch Trucks was back there too. I had him sign my Eat a Peach CD, and they both passed away a few years ago, the same year together. And so being on stage and feeling that energy, I have never felt that before. When the lights came up, we're at Starplex in Dallas, and the energy I got, what they feel every night was just amazing.
Well, I can imagine. You had the full crew. I mean, Dickie Betts.
Actually, Dickie was not there because it was Derek Trucks.
Oh, Derek Trucks.
Yeah. This was, I think Dickie was out like in the early 2000s.
Derek Trucks is phenomenal.
He is. And it was just being back. I was next to the drum set of Butch for almost the entire show. It was cool.
All right, so that was number 3 for you. It's tough, though, I think, for me to whittle things down because you and I, we've seen everybody.
We pretty much have.
Between the two of us, we've probably seen everybody. And so it's really difficult to narrow down in a lot of ways, what makes a concert great or special. You can go see a Kiss concert and they're going to have great explosions and a stage show and everything, and it's always going to be great. But there might be a concert that has a special sentiment or some other thing, that's special about it that makes it a great concert, whereas the band might have been okay, but the concert... I'll give you an example.
Okay, concert experiences.
I've told this story about when I was a senior in high school. I went to see Willie Nelson. I ended up partying on his bus. I got on the bus, yada, yada, yada. I woke up in my car at 6 a.m. and my friend was in jail. So
hazy night.
Yeah. So would that be one of the 3 greatest concerts? Gosh, it was a heck of an experience. And I'm going to throw you a curveball here, Mark.
Okay.
Out of left field. You know what I'm going to have to put at number 3? And this is a concert I didn't even want to go to. But a friend, when I was at the University of Texas, said, oh, I don't want to go. I got some free tickets. You don't have to pay me. Take them. I went to see Elton John at the Frank Irwin Center in Austin, Texas. And so I'm going to make Elton John my number 3.
Dude, that's awesome.
That guy blew the roof off the place. I didn't want to go initially. I went, and this guy won me over. Unbelievable.
Which year was that?
It's coming off the tail end of the great 70s. And it is before that lull with I'm Still Standing and all that. And the place was packed, 20,000 seats, whatever. And I remember him complaining about the audiences in Houston, which is where I'm from. I'm going to go with Elton John, the Frank Irwin Center in Austin, Texas as my number 3.
That's a great one. I saw Elton John and Billy Joel twice in the 90s and then in 2000. Elton John is just... He's amazing. He really is the original Piano Man.
Oh,
not Billy Joel.
Quite the showman. All right. But my number 2 and my number 1 are going to be substantially harder than my number 3. Just be prepared. All right. So what's number 2, Mark?
My number 2 was Metallica in May 1992 on their Wherever I May Roam tour, which was actually the Black Album tour. Metallica! And it was so cool. I took my sister. This was at the...
You took your sister?
I did. A sister and a couple of friends from work.
Cool sister.
Yes. She was, I'm not sure, she's 7 years younger than me, so she was probably somewhere in her teens.
Mine made me take her to see Rick Springfield, so I think your sister has way better musical taste.
Yeah, her first concert I took her to, and her first concert period was Bon Jovi. But the Metallica show was amazing. It was the Black Album tour at the Cow Palace in San Francisco, their hometown.
Well, in their hometown. What year was that?
It was 92. And they played 6 songs from the Black Album. Then it was just like all the stuff from And Justice for All, Kill 'Em All, and Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. Metallica!
And it's before the Metallica haters would say that they sold out.
Right. I think the cool thing is before the show, my friends and I and my sister, I introduced my sister to Jägermeister. I'm not sure that's a good thing or bad
That's
thing.
what brothers do.
That's right. And then we went and saw Metallica and rocked out.
Wow.
It was just one of those experiences when, because they were in their hometown, all the lights went down. They already played 2 encores. We're walking out. The lights went back down and they started playing again.
Oh my God.
They played for over 3 hours.
That's like seeing ZZ Top in Houston.
Exactly. It's a special experience. It really is.
Wow. And that's back before Lars became the most hated guy in the world.
He was still liked.
This is before they invented Napster. So he still had people who liked him.
The funny thing is, I think back now, they were still in their 20s.
Yeah.
And they had the very beginning of the show, they were backstage and they had on the big screen them talking to you backstage.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was a really fun experience.
Man, and it took you 3 weeks to get your hearing back?
No, I still don't have it.
That's right.
It's still gone. Ask anyone.
I feel you. That's why I talk so loud. All right, my number 2. You know what? Again, I've seen them all, but I think this concert so exceeded my expectations. I went and I saw the farewell tour of Motley Crue. Of all the classic bands that I've seen over the course of my life, to pick Motley Crue is number 2. But I gotta say, that show,
It was a
from
good one.
beginning to end, it was a total oral onslaught, man. I mean, and the stage show and the power, they were on. I don't know if they were using backing tracks, and they might have been, because they were tight. And this band was unbelievable. Nikki Sixx had like a military-grade flamethrower on his bass. This stage was on fire, literally.
It was
unbelievable.
I saw the same tour and you could feel the heat from that flamethrower.
It was the end of the road tour, and a couple of weeks ago we talked about Lemmy and how he, on his final tour, he didn't realize he had stage 4 cancer, but obviously he was ill.
Right.
And he didn't feel good, but he still went out and toured. And so what really struck me about this Motley Crue tour is Mick Mars has a spinal disease.
Correct.
And he can barely stand. The guy can't move. He can barely walk. He can barely stand. But there he was, slamming out those Motley Crue classics. He didn't move, but there he was. And I thought, wow, to give it your all after nearly 40 years,
Yes.
and to be out there, be unable to walk, that is the essence and the spirit of rock and roll. That's what it's all about.
I don't think most people could go out there on a daily basis and give that much when they're going through what he's going through. And you would never know. I mean, except for lack of movement, you would never know. He sounds fantastic.
They were all right on the money. Even Vince, God bless him. He's heavier. Look, I'm not going to fat shame the guy. Look, we all gain weight. We all get older. The guy's
Right.
pushing 60 years old. He's gotten a little heavy, but he was out there giving it his all. He was into it. Nikki was into it. Tommy's always into it. And it was just a fun concert. It was one of those concerts where not only was it loud, finally, I was like, yes, finally, a loud concert. Because they've gotten quieter over the years. Either that or I've just gotten more deaf. I don't know.
That could be a possibility too.
But it was the total essence of rock and roll the whole night. It was everything it's supposed to be. Everything was on fire. I loved it.
Yeah, I think Motley Crue went out on a high note. I think they did it right. I think the whole thing with the contract, that was cool. It's unique. It's like, good. Don't tour again.
Right, no touring. And let's just clarify too. I've seen people online when Motley Crue, when they put out a new song called The Dirt for the movie that they had a couple months ago, people were saying, I thought they had a contract. They already broke it. No. The contract was that they would never tour again as Motley Crue.
Big difference.
Right. They never said they would never play music.
No, it's like, and the whole thing was, so I think especially with Mick, they're not really able to go out, a long term, playing as Motley Crue, and they don't want to do it without Mick.
And they didn't want to be in a position where they were like Rat or Quiet Riot or whatever, where one of them is touring around as Motley Crue and there's one of them,
A tribute band.
Yeah, a tribute band. Exactly. Which basically Vince is a tribute band right now. He's touring, playing the Motley Crue song, whatever. That's a whole other thing. Okay, let's go now. Let's get a drum roll.
Okay.
All right, Mark Anderson's number 1, the greatest concert he's ever seen.
All right, my friend Johnny, I've known him since California, and he came out to see me, I think it was in 95, to see the Page and Plant tour at the Irwin Center in Austin, where they had the orchestra, and they had the Middle Eastern musicians. It was a fantastic show.
You had me at Page and Plant.
Oh, dude. It's like, yeah, by the way, Zeppelin is my favorite band, period, all time. So this was and I've seen Plant numerous times, but never Page and never Page and Plant. So that first time was amazing, but the second time when they were in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome, now that was special because it was just 4 guys. There was no orchestra. There was no other added musicians. It was Page and Plant and 2 other guys, and they rocked. They came out there. We had 20th row, and it was, they start off with a Wonton song. They played a couple from Walking to Clarksdale off their CD that just came out, and then it was all Zeppelin. It was Rock and Roll, Whole Lot of Love.
We could have talked about this in last week's podcast. Was that if you have Robert Plant and Jimmy Page playing all Zeppelin songs, is that a Zeppelin tribute band or is that Led Zeppelin?
It'd be more of a Zeppelin tribute band since there's no John Paul Jones and there's obviously no Bonham.
I agree with that.
But boy, it was a dream come true for me to be 20th row right there. I looked at my ticket stub the other day to see how much it was. It was $50.
$50.
If that happened
That's
today,
a bargain.
On the floor. So I feel very fortunate. That was definitely, just seeing my 2 idols up there doing Zeppelin songs was just amazing.
That's hard to top your number 1, Mark. Did he have the bow and did he have the double neck?
He did.
Stairway?
Yeah. He didn't do Stairway.
No stairway. Denied.
Okay, we've counted down from 3 to 1. We've heard Mark's top 3 concerts of all time. And now my number 1 for the greatest concert I have ever seen.
I'm going to say this. I don't know this, so I'm looking forward to hearing this.
Okay, here we go.
And in the words of AC/DC, we roll tonight to the guitar bite. And for those about to rock, I salute you.
The greatest concert I've ever seen. September 20th, 1979, AC/DC. In the Houston Music Hall, me and 3,000 of my closest friends. It was the Highway to Hell tour, the very first ever headlining tour for AC/DC. They were touring very small theaters. Bon Scott was at the top of his game. This was sheer, unmitigated, raw power. It is the single loudest concert that I've ever been to this day.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just sheer ferocity. It was no frills. There was just 5 guys, Bon Scott singing, Angus Young, Malcolm Young, Phil Rudd, and Cliff Williams. No giant inflatable rosies, like they do now in the stadiums. No giant cannons that they blast at the end. No fireworks, no flames that they use for Highway to Hell or TNT, none of that stuff. Heck, Angus, I was in the 8th row, I think. Angus got on a roadie's shoulders. They carried him out into the middle of the crowd, bunch of roadies holding up the giant guitar cable. And then he came back, got on Bond's shoulders. It was just unmitigated power. I don't know how else to describe it.
I've never met anyone until I met you that had seen that tour. That must have been just, life-changing as far as in a music respect.
Oh, yeah. And I've said this before to people. AC/DC did. They flat out changed my life. I'd never heard music with that kind of power, that kind of intensity, that kind of ferocity. Never. I've never seen a frontman like Bon Scott, who sadly died 5 months after I saw him. Who knew that was going to be the last time we'd ever see Bon Scott? But anyway, if you want to see actually the tour that I saw, go get a copy of the AC/DC concert film called Let There Be Rock. That was filmed on that tour. Spectacular. And when they had the encore, it was funny because the only frills that they had were they had light bulbs inside these tin cans that spelled out AC/DC. So they were flashing during the encore. Super, super cheesy.
That's great. That is true, low budget.
Super low budget. But that stands as the greatest concert I have ever seen. And I've seen them all.
At that point, was that the second or third time you had seen them?
That was the third time. I saw them twice before when they were nothing but an opening band.
And this was the first headlining tour they did.
And see the Highway to Hell tour. I'm sure they played majority of the album, then plus all this stuff in the back.
Well, yeah. I mean, they opened with Live Wire, which was a song that they opened with pretty consistently throughout the 70s. And they stopped playing it until they got Axl after this tour. But anyway, Live Wire, Highway to Hell, all the big songs from that album, plus all the stuff in the 70s. And you have to remember, though, those songs that they play, and you see them now in concert, they're classics. They're rock classics. We were hearing them for the first time back then. So imagine hearing these songs that are just in the lore of rock and roll, but they're new. We're just blown away, man.
And, out of all the bands I regret not seeing is AC/DC with Bon and then Ozzy with Randy. Oh, and Metallica with Cliff.
Oh, man. You know what? We need to do an episode about Metallica and their bass players. I mean, Cliff, yeah, Jason Newsted, and Robert Trujillo. Oh, dude.
You know what? Maybe we'll say that for the next episode.
That's a great episode.
Yes, I like that.
I mean, dude, Robert Trujillo was born to play bass in Metallica.
Oh, yeah. The guy's a beast on stage.
And that's putting it lightly. Well, all right, man. Those were our first concerts and our top 3 of the thousands that we've been to. Hopefully, we've been able to help you bring back some great memories of some great gigs that you've been to.
And tell us on Facebook, go ahead and write us a note saying what your top 3 concerts were. I'd like to hear.
Yeah, hit us up on Facebook because that is the one place you can talk directly to us. Pretty easy to find us, facebook.com/WeTalkRock.
That's right. And if you have an idea for a show, let us know.
And that's it for us. Thank you guys so much for allowing us the privilege of doing what we love to do the most.
That is rock.
All right, guys. I'm Dave Erickson.
Mark Anderson.
Let there be rock. God bless you.
You've been listening to Mark Anderson and Dave Erickson's Let There Be Rock podcast.
Awesome!
Mark and Dave's opinions are theirs, and not necessarily those of whoever runs whatever platform on which you're listening. But if you don't agree with them, you probably listened to Justin Bieber.
What an idiot!
Let There Be Rock is an Anderson Erickson production.
Well, it's one louder.